Hello, my name is Cynthia Alice Anderson, and I'm the owner and founder of the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. We are now completing 3 years of being on the air, and I wanted to personally thank you for all of your support. As a listener, as you share the podcast on your social media pages, and for your financial support. We would not be where we are today without this amazing support, which is in over 80 countries and 150,000 downloads worldwide. So I thank you, dear friend. I'm grateful we get to walk this journey together, and I cannot wait to see what we're able to do in another 3 years. Thank you again, dear friend, and blessings on the journey.
Supportek Staffing presents The Authentic Spiritual Journey, a weekly show featuring real and practical spiritual conversations from diverse perspectives here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. Today, episode 180, Moving Through Resistance with special guest John Stringer. And now your host, Reverend Cynthia Alice Anderson.
Hello and welcome to the Authentic Spiritual Journey. My name is Cynthia Alice Anderson. I'm the host, and I'm here today in 818 Studios with my producer.
Hello, everybody. This is Dave Croft. Thank you so much for joining us for episode 180 of the Authentic Spiritual Journey. I hope that you're doing well. Hope that you had a good Thanksgiving, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited about today's guest. He's quite literally one of my favorite human beings on the planet, and I'm really excited to have him with us today.
Yes, John Stringer, man. Welcome to the show. Nice to have you.
Oh, honored to be here. Good to see you both. Good to be back. And 180. Yo, that's 9, baby. That's the number.
I know, right? That's a divine number, yo.
Yes.
Yeah, and we had you last.
That's my address, you know?
We had you last on the show of April of 2019. Of course,
wow.
You know, coming through COVID and all of that stuff, that's been crazy. But yeah, so just...
That was right at the beginning of it, huh?
Actually, no, that was... Yeah. I don't know. It's all
or like a
now.
month in, I guess.
Well, no, it was a year before then, 2019,
oh, wow.
Not 2020.
Oh, I'm sorry. You said 2020.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
gotcha.
So 2019 is when we had you on the show. But man, just I love you, man, and just love everything
Back
about
at
you and
brother.
your music and your spirit and everything else. So very happy to have you with us today.
Yeah, and
back.
you know,
Good
John and
back.
I were just working together, you know, in October on a retreat, and we were going to get an interview there, and it was like, let's just honor what this is, and we can do an interview later. But really glad we can do that because, John, I know you're always working your spiritual journey, and it's one of the things I love about you. And I also love, of course, that you live in my home state, but not too far from where I grew up, actually. But
nice.
It's always nice to connect with you spiritually. And I thought at that retreat, you know, people really had some wonderful experiences, you know, here
Absolutely.
in Winter Park. And then I know you and your wife, Kathy, also took a group to Peru right after that. So you've been traveling, doing the work.
And man, it's been beautiful. And what was great was to go down to Winter Park, Florida, connect with you. One of the things, biggest takeaways for me, not only how people experience that retreat, the beautiful environment, but also how in sync what you shared was with, like, I mean, you could have been telling how I do my morning routine as you were sharing your different tips and different. I was like, holy cow, this is uncanny.
Oh, right.
So
that was
really
at the very
awesome.
end when I was talking about
exactly. Yeah. I was like, wow, this is crazy.
Yeah.
But it just
great.
shows, it shows that not only the synchronicity of when you're tapping in, when you're listening to spirit, and what you get led to, it's going to look similar because truth is truth. What works, works. So the principles you're going to see show up in anybody's life that's listening, following, and heeding their intuition or that connection to spirit, you know? So I just really enjoyed it. It was just more proof that, you know what? This makes sense. I see why we're working together.
Yes, that's very true. And you're right. I find that too, that people, I was just with another friend, a woman, I've known her probably 25 years. We're in such a similar place on our journey. And, we've had the same spiritual teacher for a long time too, but still our individual journey, our practices, even the things we're healing through are very similar because of our commitment to the journey. And I think, that's what we connect on. I've heard you talk about, dealing with resistance, and, I've talked about release, and, and those two go hand in hand. And if you don't deal with resistance, you can't move into release, and, surrender is a part of the journey, and forgiveness. So, there are the main, the main practices that we work with all the time, are going to be the same. Because right. that is the work. Everybody wants a magic pill to enlightenment, and it's really the daily work, that we're doing.
That's it. And I realized this, I think it was yesterday morning as I was going through my day in practice, had that realization of, at times the practice seems so beautiful, so amazing. And at times it can seem daunting, challenging. Oh man, I got something else to release, something else to heal or whatever, right? You might find yourself on any part of that spectrum.
Right.
But what it reminded me of, we always have infinite possibilities in any moment that we're dealing with life and our stuff to choose our perspective or to choose how we come at it, right? There's always infinite possibilities. The question is, what are you choosing in this moment? Right?
Exactly.
It's like, as life is showing up, what am I choosing in this moment? And when you talked about resistance, when I find myself in those times of, oh, this is challenging, like on our trip, when my wife and I concluded our trip to Peru, for example, we had 4 more days. And that last night, the end of the tour, we successfully done everything. I climbed Machu Picchu, did everything. And then we take a walk. I get back and my ankle starts hurting and it swells up and I can't walk for 3 days. And I'm all excited about seeing Lima. I'm all excited about just going out with the family now that the tour is over, and I can't do jack. You talk about resistance. I was crying. I was telling my wife, I'm like, I can't believe this. I don't understand. And I'm looking down at my ankle and there's like a little, marble size swelling on the side where the plates and screws are. And I'm like, oh, something's up. So I'm doing my practice. That's where the rubber hits the road. It's like, I'm telling my wife, I'm like, baby, this is so disappointing. I just feel a lot of disappointment. That's resistance. It's just like, what's showing up right now, I don't want. I want something else that I was attached to, and that's not happening. I'm pissed.
The ego says, that was not on my plan.
So during doing the practice, just tuned in, listen. I'm like, okay, what's the lesson here? What's up? It's like, okay, you can focus on what you can't do, what you don't have, or you can focus on what you can. So the question came through to ask myself, what is my soul seeking? What would bring my soul alive right now? And then I got a list of things to do. The next 3 days, that's what I focused on. I knocked that stuff out. And I kept telling my wife, when I can stay in that zone and focus on those things, I feel awesome. As soon as I stop and like the breaks in between and allow myself to get distracted about my situation, I feel like crap. It's like, okay, I'm going to stay here because this feels better. So I kept putting it into practice. And I think that's sometimes what the journey can look like. It's just that, just like you said, that continual practice, that daily choosing, each day, each moment, choosing, assessing through awareness of where we're at, and then choosing where do we want to be, and shifting internally to connect and follow that inspired action. That does it for me anyway.
Right. And it is moment by moment, right? It's not like it's not like suddenly there's some grandiose thing and we get it and life is perfect. There's every moment. That's
it. Yeah. It would be nice though. I've heard of folk having those experiences.
I'm open to it.
We'll take that too. But in the meantime, carry wood, chop water, chop wood, carry water, as they say, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Before enlightenment and after.
What's that?
I said before enlightenment and after. You've heard that story.
What do you do?
Of,
yes.
Yeah.
What do you do before
What do you
enlightenment?
do? Chop wood, carry water.
What do you do after? Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
What I was going to say, though, one of the things I think is really important about, what you shared, yes, about being in the moment, but it's also about wanting to heal. And, we get to the point where we decide that we want to heal. In other words, we want to feel better enough.
Yes, that's it.
Because you're right. Staying in those ego places, it doesn't get you anywhere. It's like sitting down and going in a circle. It is absolutely going nowhere.
And the funny thing is, as we get more subtle and subtle into those behavioral patterns and the things we find, I like the way psychotherapists, I guess you'd call them, teach it, where we learn these behaviors that served us at one time.
Yeah.
It's like when you're a child and, the different patterns you learn, at one time they served us as the best we knew. But we get stuck in them, just like you said, going in those circles. And eventually, when it stops serving us, that's when it doesn't feel good anymore. I like to think of it as relative, like the egoic patterns we've come up with, or these personality traits and behavioral things. When I look at resistance as a whole, what I hear is it's perfect. It's all good. And in fact, that resistance is often like the curves in a puzzle piece for us. It's the unique ways we show up. Sometimes they fit perfectly in the environment, and sometimes they're discordant, right? It's like, but all of it's used to make the world go round. And then when we finally start noticing, wow, this edge right here, this little resistance feels like crap. And now it's blocking me from expanding into something my soul wants to do. And it's limiting me. I think that's when we start choosing differently to become aware and shift. So we can say, oh, wait, you know what? I'm feeling drawn to this. And I'm noticing this resistance is now becoming a block. It's keeping me from moving in that direction. And I love the way life, well, sometimes I love it, I'll say. I love the way life at times brings that to our attention so we can see it, heal it, just as you said. And then it opens that natural flow into what we desire, that natural flow into expansion or whatever. Sometimes it's more challenging, but that's
sometimes.
Okay, Yeah, sometimes it's like giving birth, like, oh God.
It's like you say, no, I want to go that way though.
Yes, exactly. It's like to birth something new though, you got to go through the growing pains sometimes,
go through
right?
it. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. So that's, I think recently for you, correct me if I'm wrong, but recently for you, you've been expanding and answering the call of your soul's desires, your blueprint. And along the way, there's probably been some growing pains, right?
Oh, yes. I mean, every day has a growing pain if I'm paying attention.
Right. Yeah.
I feel like every day is an opportunity to wake up. It's that simple, every moment. And sometimes I choose very well in that waking up process.
Right.
And when I'm in resistance, it's now I can feel it more quickly, and I can even feel when I am approaching a change. But sometimes it takes a little bit to feel the resistance, to sense what is wanting to come forward. And that's where the work is. It's like, sometimes I think about it, going down the road as I'm driving. Sometimes I, think about it during my prayer time, but it's always on my mind, my journey and what's coming up, because I don't want to be in resistance. But then, as you say, that's the journey, and we have to look at what's there to then grow through and expand past it.
That's it.
But, recently, and I haven't announced this yet, I recently accepted a church position again.
Oh, all right. How cool is that? Where are you gonna be? Wait. Maybe you are. If you don't need to announce it, then that's cool.
It's
you can tell me offline.
no, it's official. It's at
great.
Unity North Tampa.
Tampa, beautiful. Staying in the Florida area, that's good.
yes, and it's been amazing, an amazing journey to that, because
how beautiful
it was. I needed the year I took off. It was just right at a year, and I started going, I think even said on the show one day, I'm really open to anything, really. It's like, I love what I'm doing online. I love the retreats. I love the travel and the speaking. But what I was missing is taking a group of people deeper on their journey. And in person, I was missing the in-person connection. And I mean, I have a whole group that, studies with me and follows me online and take virtually any class I do. And some are working with me one-on-one, and that's amazing. And I love that. So some of that I'm going to continue. And so it's going to be a real beautiful hybrid of what I love. And I think that's how amazing God is we can really get what we want.
That's it.
But in saying that, I didn't know I wanted it. It was like, oh, yes, I love doing this. Oh, you know what? I miss doing that. I'd really welcome the opportunity to do more of that. And I had really made a decision, even though I had opportunity, I decided not to go into the corporate setting, and I thought I might do that. But given the opportunity and knowing what that was going to feel like, it was like, I don't really want to teach engineers what an affirmation is. I don't care if you're going to pay me $4,000.
Right. Yeah. Some things feel in alignment, and right?
Yeah. And so, and anyway, I don't want to make the show all about me. They're always all about me. So I want to stay on you. I want to stay on you and your journey. But it just has to do with resistance, and there are a few things I have to figure out. As I step forward, I'm still in process of going, okay, well, what is mine to do in my business? What is mine to do for the ministry? And so every day I'm still in this wonderful process, because it's really brand new. I mean, my first Sunday was November 7th. So, and,
awesome.
I signed the contract at 9:30 on a Sunday morning. So,
how about that?
They were just really ready for me to come. And I said, well, I happen to be available. And the last thing I'll share about it, what was so interesting was in August, I was setting my schedule for the rest of the year. And I was guided to not do anything after October 31st on Sundays. And I thought, this is crazy. This is part of the way I make my living. And I love it. I love to support other ministries. But the guidance was so strong, no. So when the church, said to me, when are you available? I just started laughing because that's said,
perfect. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, it took me, August, September, October to understand why that guidance was there.
Exactly.
But I said, it just so happens I'm available the rest of the year. And they were like, oh.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That is beautiful. It's so a couple of things you said remind me of that discussion about resistance at the retreat we did together. One of the acronyms that came through for me was HOUR, right? To overcome, to use, and to release. Those three ways. Now, not the only ways we can engage with resistance, of course, but I thought those were key areas. And one of the things you just talked about is how you used your resistance. Like you use that resistance to working with engineers to go deeper and figure out, okay, what's mine to do, right? Some resistance we don't need to give up. We need to use it to inspire us to go deeper. Some resistance we need to overcome, like my resistance to doing taxes. If I don't overcome it, it's going to make a lot more suffering for myself. So I overcome it by doing something I love, listen to music, smoking a cigar, whatever I got to do to get through taxes, right? And make it enjoyable. And then some we just got to release, like what we're being called. It's time to release it. So I don't necessarily think all resistance is just this one cookie cutter thing, and nor just those three things we mentioned. I think it's But I think what's important is that we take that time to do what you're doing, listening to spirit and figuring out what's ours to do. And that's when it becomes clear. You didn't hear, get rid of that resistance to working with engineers. Nope.
No, it wasn't.
Right?
Oh, release. It was like,
Right.
What is that?
Yes.
Every time. And how it was manifesting is I wasn't wanting to send an email back to the person. And it was a huge corporation. I mean, I was talking to a friend of mine. He goes, I think you're crazy. I said, I may be, but I said, I just every time I go to send that email, I don't want to send it. I said, so I'm just like leaning into that. And then several months went by and I even checked in with her again and said, are you still open to me coming? Yeah, send us your stuff. And I was like, I can't do it. I can't do it. And so, the resistance really did serve me. And I think it really can. I think this is really important to talk about because most of the time, I hear people saying, oh, just say yes to the universe. I mean, and yes, we do want to say yes.
Right.
But the teaching really is the universe always says yes to whatever,
Bingo.
And so sometimes opportunities come our way, so we have the option to choose. That's what decides our journey,
And what's beautiful is when we can choose from that higher level, that listening to spirit. The cool thing, favorite scripture, probably one of the top of all times, lean not to your own understanding, in all thy ways acknowledge the I am will direct your path. You said it. You're hearing very clearly, no. Don't book Sundays, right? It doesn't make sense. It's not logical in the moment to you. However, it was leading to something that you couldn't see, that it was part of a grander plan, the plan that the I am had for you, the plan that your higher self, your soul had for you, right? It's like, it's directing you and guiding you perfectly. Yes. And had you said no to that, you might end up in a difficult situation later, but instead you said yes to that. I think part of our choosing becomes that ability to tune in and be guided and be directed. And then the next choice, you can hear the information. The next choice is to accept the information and follow through faithfully on that guidance, trusting your intuition, trusting whatever that connection is. That's, to me, one of the strengths that by doing that, not only do we strengthen our will, like that will to choose. Like when people think about will, they think about willpower. Like, okay, I want to diet, so I'm going to engage my will and get my butt in the gym, engage my will and not eat the donut, right? That's part of will. But it's the same thing when it comes to using our will to trust. I'm going to engage my will and jump off this freaking cliff without knowing what's below me. I'm going to engage my will and listen to spirit saying, go this way without knowing what's coming. I'm going to engage my will and block off my calendar without knowing what's going to happen, right? So that's what it is. And as you do, the more you do that, the stronger your will grows. I think will and faith kind of go hand in hand. Because as you have these experiences of trusting and seeing the perfection of it, your faith increases and it's easier to engage your will. Your will also increases, but practice increases it all. So that's it's cool to hear your story of just that simple example of how, listening and how beautifully and intelligently the divine is guiding you and leading you, I have many stories like that. I love that,
Right, exactly. Well, I'm so glad you're here and we can talk more. And we'll be right back after this break with a message.
We'll return to the program in just a few moments, but first, we wanted to give a special word of thanks to our podcast partners, Supportek Staffing. Supportek Staffing is an innovative staffing agency built on the principle of caring about employers and employees as they navigate these new workforce and workplace challenges. If you're an employer, they want to be your human resource partner and help with the changes needed during the pandemic. If you're a candidate, they want to become your lifelong career agent to help you grow into your fullest potential. Supportek prioritizes support over volume, integrity over profits, and will treat your business and your career as if it was their own. You can learn more at supportekstaffing.com. That's SUPPORTEK staffing.com. We now return you to this week's episode of The Authentic Spiritual Journey with your host, Reverend Cynthia Alice Anderson.
If you've ever felt the guilt or felt the shame, if you've ever wondered why you felt the pain, I can tell you how to finally let it out. When it works if you can just let go the doubt. It's a now you know type of story, so I won't tell you things to make it right, 'cause you'll be just fine, you'll be alright. Let this go by if you're just alive, just alive. Makes you think that something's wrong, but it's not why you have come to sing along. What do I give, what do I say when my fears come and love still stays to let me know there's always nothing wrong? What can to figure out. And if problems reappear, you can find the answers here and feel what it's all about.
Welcome back. We're glad you're with us. And we have our special guest today, Mr. John Stringer. And John, as I said at the beginning, it's always a joy to share time with you. And how cool that you shared a video. So if folks are watching us on YouTube, they can, go back a little bit if they were sitting at their desk working, which is a lot of people say, I just love to listen to you
Right.
during the day, but sometimes we'll encourage them and say, no, you really want to see this one. So thank you for giving us that video. And it was funny.
My pleasure.
Yeah, that you did, because something on my mind to ask you. I know a little bit, but I don't know a lot about your journey from when you were in a top 40 band into where you are now. I mean, that's quite a journey.
Yeah, it was quite a journey, a great one. So I'll tell you a little bit about it. So long story short, I was opening up through songwriting, learning to listen to genius and really studying genius. And at the same time, I was meditating to try to help with my moods, because I was, challenged emotionally at the time. And so meditation, stream of consciousness writing, binaural beats, all these things combined to really help me open up. And I was doing something called the master key, had a Kundalini awakening, like 2 a.m, meditating, and like, boom, all of a sudden this energy starts moving through me. Started to inquire about that. And all those steps led me to finally tuning in not only to higher levels of consciousness and what I like to call genius, but also energy, the subtle energy, and opening up and allowing that energy to move. Yes. And I just began to apply what I heard, what all the teachings, that I began to write them down. Ended up, we called it channeling partners. My wife and I began to channel. This is all while I'm touring the world, going to Japan, Korea, Honduras, Puerto Rico, playing all these different places and having these experiences. I remember Mount Fuji drawing my attention before I could even see it in the window. And then we see it in the window. I'm like, that's what that energy pool is.
Yeah.
Right? It was really cool. But all of that was preparing me to be able to align with that natural flow and that energy, and then be able to listen to it. And the next thing I began to serve anonymously for 3 years, just bringing through teachings, and people would submit questions online. And it amazes me to this day. No marketing.
Right.
No,
exactly.
And we just had people attracted to it like flies, right? It's like just people coming left and right. And it was like, wow, this is amazing. We'd have our sessions, but it was all free. No one knew who I was doing it, and collected about 3 years worth of these teachings coming through, and we would apply them to our lives. And that really shifted me, really changed. But it was the real world application of, at times my wife would have the conversation and I would have the conversation about, do you have to ask about everything?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, and I'd be like, well, my favorite scripture, in all thy ways acknowledge the I. Right? It's like, I'm trying to apply that for real, But as time grew, now she does it.
Of course, she's very dialed in.
Gets her own. Yeah, she's very dialed in and applies it to her own life. But that's what shifted. While I'm touring the world, doing this stuff anonymously, all of a sudden I'd start hearing more and more, all right, now it's time to move in this direction. And the next thing you know, we're hosting retreats, writing a book with Marianne Williamson in a best-selling series called Adventures in Manifesting. We're get led to go to Bali, and I'm leading meditations over there with these top 2 powerhouses out there, and I meet my dear friend Arlene Moshe, and I hear we need to do retreats with her. Next thing you know, I'm doing intuitive development retreats, and we launch a certification, and we're just I remember this one moment being at we're in this mansion in Cumming, Georgia, hosting a retreat, a 3-day retreat, and people are tuning in. We're teaching them how to do it, and they're just having these expansive, profound experiences, and you start to see the interconnectedness and the oneness, and how there's nothing we're we can't access, and we're doing it collectively. I'm talking about like people who've never even done this before. Tap it in. We're showing them, and they're having these profound information come in, and people are like, "Holy cow, this is amazing!" Right? That's kind of the party trick side of it. Yeah. And then the deeper side is, all right, now it's time to see. Apply this and let this block go and heal from this and shift from this, and then there's tears, right? So it goes from the wow to the wow. Yeah. But in that moment, I'm just like, this is what I'm supposed to do. It was just so crystal clear, like that perfect alignment of I'm living my soul's purpose, and I've been following that just by simply tuning in and listening. And it's taken me to write another book, to speaking, to teaching online courses, to so many different things, even into real estate and all kinds of stuff, crypto, you name it. So many things I didn't see coming, you know?
And why not?
But that's part of the adventure.
I was going to say, that's part of the adventure. Well, one of the things a mentor of mine said, her name was Reverend Sharon Poindexter, and she says, she would say, even when you're on the edge of your seat, experiencing this exhilaration, and you think, can I manage any more of this? The answer is yes, of course you can. Because, God is limitless. God is moving you forward. And what I love about your journey and mine too, that's similar is we kind of refuse to be in a single box. And because that's not God, and I think, when I first left church ministry, when I left CCU, I thought I might be leaving it forever, and I needed that to be okay, and to have that experience. And then when it was time to go back, yes, it's time to go back, and I'm going back a little wiser. I'm going back with a different framework. I'm bringing to it a different awareness of my own issues and how I get in my own way, but how I express is limitless. I can do a retreat. I can do a Sunday morning. I can do one-on-one counseling. I can do deep meditation to inner child work, and to native drumming. All that, that's all what I'm to do.
Yes.
And I think sometimes we let ourselves be limited by, expectations of others, what we've done in the past, and so that's why I think hearing more about your journey might really inspire people, because you were a gigging musician in a top 40 band, singing and playing and right. And like you say, touring the world, but there was something else you were looking for that was deeper, more satisfying. And
that's it. And the practical of it too is, I think, when people are in different phases of their lives, it's about being able to tune in and ask, what are the roles I'm here to step into right now? Like some people call it, what's mine to do? When I begin to ask that question, okay, what's my purpose? I saw it on 3 levels. My wife and I teach this in our relationship course. But the third level, that bottom level, is the roles. And the roles we step into are going to look differently. Like we have that shared purpose on the top level, and that's expressing the I am and letting it do more through our lives. That's what it's seeking to do through all of us. That's why we keep birthing more people, right? But then that unique expression that is yours to do, when you can tune into it at different phases of your life, it's going to look different for some of us. Now, one thing I learned is that's not necessarily everybody. Some people will tune in and get very specifically, I'm supposed to be an industry magnate. I'm supposed to go and start this business and focus only on that and do it and change the world through that. Great. Some of us I'm supposed to do these 5 things, or these 3 categories. And that's how it's been for me, is really, but even expanding on, and I think my soul thrives through that, the way I call it the soul's blueprint, the way mine is designed. I thrive on having more than one thing to do. I thrive on it stepping into different arenas, and it serves my soul. And I'm blessed that I've been given the aptitude, the skill set, and the desire to pursue those things and be able to do them in a way that serves me and others. I see it the same thing in you. When we were at that at the retreat, you're pulling out all kind of talents. I'm like, what the heck? I didn't even know you could do that to help serve. But the cool thing is, it's like using all of you, using all the ways you have a wonderful voice. You're incredible multi-instrumentalist. You're a great teacher. All these different things coming together to help serve others. I think when we tune in and surrender, that's what shows up. Our light shines and it freaking brightens the way, you know? So that's what I've loved that. But I think it starts with tuning into that purpose and listening.
Yeah, I do too. And I like it. The first person I ever heard say, live your soul, not your role, was Sonia Choquette. And I like that because you know, the soul does live through the role, like you're saying, but I think most of us have identified, and I have at certain times in my life, identified with certain roles, that this role means who I am rather than the part I'm playing. And that is ego attachment. I was attached most definitely to being, when I was a teacher. I was attached to being a minister. And so part of my work, you know, was always to, you know, release those ego attachments through this, you know, journaling and meditation process I do, so that I can keep growing and evolving even as I view myself. Because if I over-identify with the role, that's being an ego, rather than, like you're saying, this role helps me be of service. So I just know that the best way I can be of service is through this podcast and through, you know, serving in a ministry. And one of the other things that I'm very fond of doing is my mastermind course. And those are the three main ways that I'm serving people the deepest. And that, you know, but it's not about, this is what I do. It's about, this is how, this is the role I play for this group, but it's my soul always in all the different roles, you know, guiding, directing, and saying, you know, don't book this, when my mind and personality, like to go back to the first step, you know, when my mind was going, are you sure, God? Things like that.
I've had many of those moments. And that brings me back to when I first heard to step into the role of teacher. I'm like, what? As a musician, doing all these things, you know, sharing music and all of that, hearing that, and then beginning to get this vision to start speaking, and like, that's out of my comfort zone. And it didn't match how I'd been conditioned to see myself, just like you said, in the roles. Man, I've been touring the world singing, not speaking. What, wait a minute. But it stretched me. And there was a part of me, one part of me resisted, and one part of me was thrilled by it and excited. And I was able to tune in and recognize that part that was excited was actually the higher part. The lower part was stuck in fear and attachment and limitation. Like, that's not me. I don't have a minister's license. I don't this, that, and the other. Well, all of those were easily solved. Yeah. Right. Every objection, there's usually an easy solution to. And next thing you know, things just, when I finally said yes and lined up with it, things just to begin to open up. And I was able to find my genius and my gift. A lot of those roles are where your genius is. And the very things we're resisting and we're afraid of, and I'm not this, I'm not that. Technically, it's trying to reveal what's yours to be, what's yours to expand into. So as I began to do that, I was like, wow, I found my rhythm of tuning in, speaking, allowing spirit to speak through me, allowing spirit to guide me in like what the message needs to be, what the description needs to be, all the way to what needs to be said in this moment during the message, right? That began to flow, and it became the thing that I could trust. Like, I could literally trust every time, and stepping into the unknown and knowing over and over that power would deliver. Kind of like Moses, just open your mouth.
Exactly. just show
up and open your mouth. Yeah. And it's, but that, I think that's the practice that I begin to see. Wow. It prepared me to be able to bring that to my life, because I begin to see in a new way how every time I jumped off the cliff, I would soar. and I would be lifted up by this power that I was relying on. And it's like, I started to see the difference in my normal life. Like, why can I do that on stage and not in this area? Wait a minute, I can. Bring that to your daily life in each moment. Bring that to relying on that power to guide and begin to integrate that more and more. And it just shifted so much. But long story short, the point is, when we listen to Spirit, where it takes us, there are so many wonderful benefits from it that we don't often see in the moment, and that we might not even see later, but it's like so impactful, right? It's just that surrender has such a ripple effect, has such a profound impact on our own fulfillment, on our own ability to serve others, and then beyond. Like, we don't even know the impact it's having for those we've served just by our saying yes. It's humbling, it's awesome, and it's how love works.
Yes, yes, exactly right. And your journey has taken you, forward where, like you say, you are teaching. And, I think I was on one of your first shows with that you and your wife were doing, your Awakened Pillow Talk.
That's right. Oh, it was such an awesome
and that
episode.
It was an awesome group of people that you had gathered too. I was honored to be a part of it. What do you have coming up, just in case some of our listeners, want to check it out, and where can they find more about you and your music and your teaching and speaking? Just tell us more.
No, thanks for asking. So, Awaken Pillow Talk is the podcast you're talking about. That's at our healingartsmgmt.com site, as well as my own podcast. And we do a live podcast with video, et cetera, and guests like you were joining us. We do that like kind of quarterly. We may increase that, but for now, quarterly. And then we have monthly.
Well, you're doing it as kind of a production.
Podcast.
I mean, you're in a building with lights, and it's a little bit more of a.
It's like a live show.
It's like a live show. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and so that's fun though. We heard to do that, and was so honored to have you on, and just a powerful episode about race and consciousness. Check that out. In fact. That's one of my favorite episodes to date. It was our first live. Then also on the healingartsmgmt.com site, you'll see we have a new course called Aligned Relationships Transformation Experience. And that's really about aligned relationships when it comes to several things. Like, we think about our everything is a relationship, right? Whether it's objects, things, situations, it's our relationship to what we're creating.
Yes, to life.
So we
our relationship to life. Mm-hmm.
Bingo. To life, to however it shows up in others, ourselves, our higher power, whatever it is. So we're kind of presenting this framework that we use in our lives. And when you talked at the end of the retreat about the things you were doing, some of the very things you were sharing, like accountability, for example, when you started going, and I'm like, yes, that is key. We actually have a system that we teach for accountability, having accountability partners, and once a week, and we have the steps. Here's how we do it, right? So it's the same song or same theme, different way of singing it, but you can sing about accountability, love, whatever it is. How we express it, we found to be helpful for us, and helping other people achieve what I think Napoleon Hill calls the mastermind. I think accountability is one way to do that.
Absolutely true.
So you can check out the course there, Aligned Relationships. It's a 4-week course that my wife and I take us through, and we use the same principles, the same practices and lessons that we have found to help our relationship in all those areas, as well as our romantic relationship. That's a key one. We've had a lot of couples sign up as well as individuals, so anyone can take it, and it's on demand.
Oh, good,
your own
good.
pace.
Well, and I like that, and I always like to share that in today's world, when we say the word relationship, everybody always thinks romantic, but there is, as you're saying, so much more. And
Money is another area we cover.
Exactly. I was going to say your relationship with money, your relationship with life, with your job, how you walk through. So, John, this all sounds great, and thank you so much for joining us again today. It's always a pleasure.
Oh, my pleasure.
To have you on, Dave.
Likewise.
Dave and I are always honored to share time with you.
It's always an honor. Thank you so much. Love you both. And I'm humbly grateful to be sharing with you once again.
All right. And thank you to our listeners. We always are blessed and grateful that you've joined us. So we hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Blessings on the journey, dear friend.
We hope you've enjoyed this week's episode of The Authentic Spiritual Journey, presented by Supportek Staffing. This channel is also made possible because of listeners just like you. If you would like to support the channel with your tax-deductible contribution on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. The Authentic Spiritual Journey is copyright 2021 Cynthia Alice Anderson, all rights reserved. Our theme music is composed by Dave Croft and used with permission from RR Hot Publishing. The Experience of the Soul podcast channel is a production of 818 Studios.